Good morning.
Good afternoon. And
Good
good
evening.
evening, wherever you are on our amazing planet. I'm Ariel.
I'm Shya.
Welcome to being here.
Yes.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. I am my mother after all. Or father.
But as the case may be.
But since it's the week before Mother's Day, we thought this would be a fitting tribute to all those mothers out there. And all those of you who are afraid you're turning into your mom.
You are.
And chances are you've never met her.
Well, I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
Because if you're afraid of turning into that you're afraid of turning into is likely a distortion from your child's mind.
Yeah, it's very good.
I am my mother, after all.
Well, I see.
Thank goodness.
I see the amazing strength that your mother had in you every day.
I was thinking about her. I spoke about it last week in the podcast, how I got pulled over by a state trooper and how she was kind and she let me go with a warning because, I'm clearly not like a repeat offender. It's been since it had been 50 years since the last time I was pulled over for a traffic offense. And my mom told me this story. When she was young, and my dad and she were very, very poor, and she was working as a waitress in a Chinese restaurant. It was freezing outside. And she was driving and she saw these two elderly women waiting for the bus and they were freezing. So she picked them up. And when she picked them up, she blew through some kind of something and she got pulled over and got a ticket for something huge, like $80.
Whoa.
And they did not have the money.
$80 years ago
was huge. So she went home and she was so upset and she was crying. And my dad came to her and said, "Anything interesting happened today?" And she's like, "No." He's like, "That's really interesting. Because I got a visit from a state trooper." And he held up the ticket. The state trooper felt so bad for her because she's this pregnant lady. I forgot that part. With my sister, she had been rescuing these people. He felt so bad. He brought the ticket over and they tore it up. So anyway, that's my story of my mom du jour. I hope you all have something that you can be grateful for. That's a legacy from your parents.
Well, here's the thing. If you're complaining about your life, then your life sucks. And then your childhood sucked and everything else sucked too. If you're here, what a gift it is to be alive in this moment. And, you forget, you don't even have any awareness of all the things they did to keep you alive.
Shout out to Uli and her daughter, Louisa. They came recently to Living Made Easy. We've known Uli since before she had children. And we remember the early years when she was struggling with all the details of how to be a good mom, whether to discipline, how to listen, how to deal with the challenging nature of other parents at the bus stop. I mean, all of the details that kids are not privy to. And when they both came to a virtual Living Made Easy, and Louisa was sitting there and she was so beautiful and poised and whole and complete, I realized that many people hold grievance against an earlier version of their parents who were learning how to parent right along with their kids as they were growing up. Like people don't give their parents any credit or right to grow.
They don't give them credit for what they had to go through to keep a family intact.
I know we haven't spoken about listening yet today. I hope you've been listening. Listening is an incredible key It also
But,
leads to forgiveness for yourself and for others.
well, it depends on how you listen. If you listen to be right, there's one outcome. If you listen to hear what another person says from their point of view, there's an entirely different outcome. You could be right, but you're not really listening to discover what else is possible.
I would like to talk about being my mother after all from another access point before we take our first guest.
Okay.
And I'm talking about appreciating our parents. In this case,
Mm-hmm.
mother could be father, whoever you had the most challenge with in your mind in your childhood. And in actuality, people didn't always have parents who were the best at parenting. I it's one thing to look at them and find okayness, but the real place to look at is yourself. Because the more I am grateful for me to be me, the more I can see the greatness in both of my parents. So it really starts with you. So when you were talking about if you're listening to be right, I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes people are listening to be right, that they are messed up. They're not good enough. They're broken. They'll never be good enough. They have an endless problem with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
There's that possibility. Hmm. Thank God for instantaneous
Well, I'll
transformation.
tell you, really.
Let's take our first guest.
Okay,
All right.
Janet.
Welcome to being here. Tell people where you are zooming in from.
Hello, Ariel and Shya. I'm zooming in from Jersey City, New
Welcome.
Jersey. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, especially for this topic. I feel very lucky, and I've been thinking a lot about my mother lately. On March 1st, my husband and I and several relatives flew down to celebrate her 90th birthday. It was a birthday party that my brother, sister, and I organized for her. And it was such a wonderful occasion that we were able to bring her siblings and some of her nieces and nephews together in Florida to celebrate her. And she was so happy. And it made me look at her and see her in a slightly different light than I had seen her before. Firstly, I couldn't even believe she was 90 years old. I mean, wow,
Mm.
that's a lot of time. And secondly, it really makes me think how much, despite everything that I've done, am like her, despite as much as I've pushed from doing against it. That's really what I am, very much like her, including my teeth. For example, I have all this dental work that's happening on the upper left. It's covering like 4 or 5 teeth. This has been going on for a couple of years. We're a couple months away from finishing it. And my mother has had all this dental work done on the lower left of her teeth. And I just find all these things uncanny.
Mm. Do you have any questions for us today or anything else you would wanted to share?
How do I accept myself from pushing against wanting to be like her and accepting that I am like her? I go back and forth all the time.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you had an ideal you, what would she be like? Or would she be a he?
I don't know if she would be a he, but I guess I would want someone that's more compassionate, kind, confident,
Okay.
loving.
What kind of person would want to be more compassionate, kind, loving,
Confident and loving.
confident? What kind of person?
An insecure person.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. I see a person who already has those traits.
I have a question. Does a truly unkind, unfeeling person care whether or not they're kind or compassionate or loving?
Mhm.
No.
Of course not. The other thing is this. you are on a never ending journey when the journey is to prove that you're not good enough. Because you will find so much proof of it. But what is good enough? You know,
What is confident enough? What is you're on a if you're busy proving that you're a problem, it's a never ending journey.
exactly. And you can never prove that you are enough because you're proving you're not enough.
When you are celebrating being you, you're on a never ending adventure.
I can't think about the last time that I celebrated being me.
Well, you don't have to celebrate being you. I don't celebrate being me. I just live.
I celebrate you being you.
Okay, well, that's you can do that. But that you have so much attention on how you're doing.
It's so funny when you talk about how do I not push and push. You know, I don't look at. I've had dental work on different places. I'm not looking to find similarities or differences. Every once in a while, when I am managing something well, I realize that is
A trait she inherited from her mom.
you know my
She was a good manager.
yeah, my parents started their own business, which ended up being highly successful when they were in their 50s. They finally had done their dream of having kids and doing other things, and they opened a store together. I'm just in awe of them as a possibility, but it allows me to be in awe of myself. And when you're talking about pushing against, it's like, do you compare yourself to my mother? Do you talk about what she wore, what she ate, what she did, whether she exercised, her relationship with my dad? You're having a very finite, controlled, narrow path of comparison.
I stopped watching the news a while ago because I noticed that if I watched the news, I would get upset when things went contrary to how I thought they should be. And that was the news. So I stopped watching it so I wouldn't have to be upset. See, your upset with you is an addiction that you can either feed and continue or give up, starve. I've starved my addiction to getting upset with the news. So I don't think about it.
We've been watching on television on Prime Video. There are 7 seasons of this show called Elementary, and it's just a fun bit of entertainment where it takes place in New York. The character is Sherlock Holmes and Joan Watson, played by Lucy Liu. So they have a whole 7 seasons of antics together. But the interesting thing about the storyline is that he has been a heroin addict. And at the beginning, she is his sober companion. And whilst I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about 12-step programs and whatnot, I look at how diligently those characters, and now mind you, it's totally fiction, uh, are attentive to staying away from and being aware of the triggers that might support him in relapsing into being a heroin addict. And I don't think that you've ever looked at your complaining nature against yourself as an addiction that you could be super attentive towards so that you don't collapse into it just by habit.
Yeah.
And it's been the thing that you have put your attention on.
You have a beautiful home, you have a wonderful husband who loves you, you have all sorts of circumstances that people would really admire, and it's rare that you ever feel well about yourself.
Yeah.
And the other thing is this: you've done your life brilliantly. How I know that is you're having a conversation with us. And I'm not saying that from some egotistical point of view. I mean, somehow you've managed to find us, and we are a possibility that most people never have, which is transformation, not a little bit better, but a magnificent life.
And part of what makes us special is we're willing to let you be miserable if that is your life purpose.
If that's what you want, we'll not try to stop you.
No, I mean, I know, and I didn't
Wait a
even
sec.
realize.
You're about to tell us it's not what you want. You're
Oh,
smiling
now
now,
big
you're
smile.
laughing.
I know they can't see you because this is not video.
But now we've got you smiling and laughing because you see, it, you have what you want. That's the thing that people don't realize, that they engineer their lives to get what they want. Now, let me ask you a question, Janet. When you were a little girl and you fell and got hurt, did your mother give you more attention than when you were playing and were happy and having fun?
Yes,
Well, maybe you got this idea that if you don't feel good, people will give you more love and attention. But that's the idea of an immature mind. Maybe you don't need to feel bad to be loved. How's that for a possibility?
I hadn't even thought about it, that I was doing that purposefully in many cases.
Yeah, do you see it now though?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
purposefully slash habitually.
It's a habit. And here's the thing, our minds are mechanical. So we repeat, because mechanical things repeat themselves over and over, unchanged. Well, it's a mechanical way of going about life to repeat each day like every other day. I had a friend once who used to say, I'd say, "How are you?" And he would say, "Same old, same old." Well, my life is never same. It's always new. It's always different.
Let's talk about the habit, not the purposeful construction, because you got that in there for sure, but also the habit that becomes unaware of perpetuating the feeling sorry for oneself nature. And I want to have it be about Pilates, because I went Pilates the other day, and I know that you have done that discipline, so you're familiar with that. And what I've come to notice, and I have the same instructor for a period of time, I like to go half hour, have an instructor, we work together, we bring awareness, and she does things to trick my mind along with my body, which I love. I have noticed I have in the past had a habit that when I'm fatigued, thinking, or stressed, my shoulders get involved. They creep up as if they're going to help me move my legs or pull in my belly or something like that. And I keep bringing attention to bringing my shoulders into a relaxed position. And every once in a while, my instructor, shout out to Lisa, don't know you'll ever hear this, but still, shout out to you anyway. She'll go, Ariel, your left shoulder is creeping. And then it'll drop, and she'll go, I wasn't sure if I was right, but I love it when I say that. And it is. There's something about I am a professional at bringing awareness to the habits I have that have been put in motion apparently to protect me, but actually they do things to diminish me, because then I'm going to walk around with headaches and my shoulders aching and feeling bad, rather than having strengthened the muscles that I want to strengthen. I would be strengthening my bad habits. Got to get interested in having them. And one of the things is, when I see it happening, I love pointing it out and laughing and going, huh, my shoulders were just helping. It's not like it's a failure. Shannon and I were talking about that today, about how I can hold things as failures or I can hold them as me.
I like that. That's, I can.
See, what you refuse to get is what a great lady you are.
And how full blown, complete, amazing you are
right now, not when you improve something. Yeah, it's hard to get, I know, because see, you listen to the same voice you've been listening to for most of your life, and it's got the same things that it says over and over, because you see, voices in our heads are mechanical.
When we release this, when it comes out, I highly recommend that you listen to it. And I'll tell you why. It's not so much about any of the content you've spoken about or we've spoken about. It's about the gaps when we say something and you consider it before you reply. You're thinking all the time. You're not in real time. You're like, I like that. Oh, it's almost like, I'll give you that, rather than yes or no.
I see that I'm doing that. I can tell that I'm doing it, but I don't know any other way to do it.
That's right.
Great.
But if you see it and don't judge yourself for having it,
poof,
then you have new ways of being.
Because anything you resist, try to work on, get better at, stick around.
Anything you don't like about yourself, you will keep forever. Anything you allow to be the way it is completes itself in the instant you see it.
I guarantee you have more going on than long-term dental work that you share in common with your mother, by the way.
Yes, much, much more.
Hey, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. And I really look forward to listening to it once it's live. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's time for our listener feedback spotlight.
Okay, so here we go.
We're going to hear from one of our listeners about how transformation has impacted her life or his life. Let's see.
Yeah. And if you'd like to learn more about what we're up to, you could register for any of our upcoming virtual courses.
Or sign up for our newsletter. Just visit
transformationmadeeasy.com.
It really is easy.
It is easy if you know the way.
Hi, here's Dorina from Hamburg, Germany. To be participating in the podcast from Ariel and Shya gives me such a good feeling for myself and being kind to myself. I really love to listen, and thank you so much.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shya's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
In case you're unaware, we have Living Made Easy virtual seminars. They're 2-hour seminars. They happen evenings. They happen Saturday mornings. There are sometimes
Monday evenings.
Yes, but I'm looking at
other evenings as well.
Swapping it up for the summer, so it's not
Ooh.
always Mondays.
Ooh.
We're going to look at it. We're still in the
Okay.
midst. That's why we're not giving definite times. We're still putting together our schedule. But you can check the website, transformationmadeeasy.com, and find out when the next 2-hour seminar is and join us. We have 2, actually 3, in-person seminars coming up, and they're happening in very different locations. The first is the Freedom to Breathe on Thursday, May 22nd. So the end of this month, the Freedom to Breathe.
It's happening in Hamburg, Germany.
Then the following day, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, the 22nd through the 23rd to the 25th, we're doing the superpower of being you, and you're invited. In New York City, in July, the 25th, 6th, and 7th, the theme is creativity and intuition. You are invited to any and all. You can find it all at transformationmadeeasy.com. And any weekend seminars, the prerequisite to join us next year, January, in Costa Rica for our Costa Rican adventures. Let's take our next guest.
Yes.
Miss Katie, welcome to being here. Where are you zooming in from?
I am zooming in from Chicago, Illinois.
Welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Hmm.
I love this topic because I love my mom. And she's one of the sweetest ladies that I know. Just always has been, I have 3 sisters. She's always been so fair with all of us, like always tried to be, I know she jives with certain people, certain sisters better, but she's always been just so loving for all of us. So I would be happy to be like my mom. One thing I do, what?
Too late.
Yeah, you already are.
Yes, just saying.
Perfect. All right. I like it.
Okay, one thing, yes.
I notice that in conversations, my mom, well, maybe it's me just noticing this, but she has a tendency to get anxious about certain things. And when she does that, I have a hard time listening to her.
Are you
And
sure it's not the opposite?
no, I'm not sure about that. It might be the opposite.
There are themes you're unwilling to listen to. It evokes anxiousness in her.
Oh.
I was telling Shya today something about a telephone conversation I had with somebody, and I was so happy he would listen to me, because whilst I technically had the answers for why I felt unsettled, I was just so happy that he would fully hear it, because it took it away from me. And then it wasn't like I was some weird lesser person for having felt unsettled after that conversation. It was just an obvious fact that that would likely be the outcome.
That's really cool. I never considered that it was coming from me.
What if everything is coming from you?
Oh,
And
yeah.
how far is a reflection of how you're doing?
What is the reflection?
How people are, the people you interact with in your life, they are a reflection of how you're doing or being, actually being.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know which of your sisters your mom tends to have more affinity for, and whether you are one of them. And I don't even want you to answer that. But it occurs to me that she may have affinity for the ones she doesn't feel judged by. You're smiling. Why are you smiling?
Thank you. Forget that this, because I have probably been the biggest judge of my mom over time, and yeah, I never saw that.
Do you think you should be different than you are?
when I say things like that, yes, I do tend to think that I should be different than I
Well,
am.
let's qualify it. Let's just take a
Okay.
look. Do you think you should have been raised in a different family? Your best friend's family, for instance.
No, I don't think that, but I do think that I should be different than how I am when I'm being judgmental, unkind, things like that.
I think judgmental and unkind, Katie, are a symptom. So you're trying to not be the symptom rather than look that when you are disturbed, the judgmental nature comes to the foreground as a defense strategy
When you're upset.
when you're upset. So you're trying to get rid of the judgments rather than recognizing that you, from time to time, get upset.
Yeah. I always think it's better to be happy than to be upset. I'm
But
seeing
you can
this.
be upset whilst being happy.
We've
You
done
see?
it.
You can go over the top of your upset with extreme happiness and joy. You've never done that, have you?
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
See, you can do being okay, do being happy when you're not, because you have the idea being upset is a negative. It's a bad thing.
Yeah,
I'd be bad, would you? You know, you can't get to heaven if you're bad.
that's true. Supposedly there is one.
Supposedly there is one.
Yeah, if
You
there
know,
is such a
heaven is
place.
right here, right now, when you're being kind to yourself.
When you're here, but when you're being judgmental and thinking you ought to be different than you are, wow, that's got to be painful.
Well, here's a possibility. You know, I noticed when our grandsons were born, there was one of the two was happy to be held by me. We had a different way of relate, and the other one, we just didn't have that, you might say, natural affinity.
Mhm.
So then it's like, am I a bad person? Is he a bad grandson? That's just the mix, the starting point of possibility for greatness for both of us.
Mm.
And if you find yourself judgmental with your mom, who knows? Maybe that is that thing that you have as a gift to give her. When you discover your ability to suspend that, you're giving her the gift. You are the legacy that she's always dreamed of giving out into the world. And I guarantee you, she sees your brilliance far more than you do.
Getting a little choked up. That's really sweet.
You know, I used to assign to my mother the idea that she didn't want me to leave acting and move into the life I have. And I remember later in life, she once was sitting on her couch in her little dining area. They had a couch there, and she was like, you know, kids often think their parents disapprove of their life choices when it's really them that's disapproving. And I just, oh, yes. I mean, it took me a long time to own that I was far happier using the skill sets I learned in acting school and on stage and film and whatnot to be myself and to support other people in being themselves rather than to have to rehearse to be a character whose life I would never want to have.
I love that. Thank you guys. It's really lovely being with you.
You too. Judging from who I'm being with you, I think your mom did a great job because you're amazing.
Thank you. She
And,
did.
and by the way, you're beautiful inside and out.
It's one of those apples doesn't fall far from the tree type of
Yeah,
conversation.
your mom's a great lady.
Tell her we said hi.
Yeah.
We're happy to have met her through you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being with us today.
Yes.
Thank you.
You can subscribe to this podcast. You can share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, we offer it up. You can find all our courses and meet people like Katie and like Janet at our seminars. We're inviting you. Transformationmadeeasy.com is our website. And next week's podcast is an interesting one. It's include
Versus ignore.
You'll find out what that's about next week. So come on back.
And don't miss
Being here.